What is information security? Information security is the process of maintaining confidentiality, ensuring integrity, and assuring availability of the information. Information security is a constantly evolving process. Employees can play a key role in this process. There are some common threats to information security. These threats include, but are not limited to, human, technical, and environmental threats. Examples of human threats include disgruntled employees, customers, criminals, terrorists, hackers. Examples of technical threats include configuration errors, obsolete equipment or software, or malicious code such as a virus. Examples of environmental threats include floods, power outages, fire, severe weather, or a pandemic. For human-related threats, there are many different motivations. These motivations may include, but are not limited to, financial gain, revenge, or political agendas. An organization implements controls in an attempt to minimize the possibility of a negative impact from the threat. Controls can be categorized as physical, technical, or administrative. Physical controls are items related to the physical environment, such as doors, locks, fire suppression, etc. Technical controls are items such as antivirus software, firewalls, etc. Administrative controls are items such as formal and informal policies and procedures, including codes of conduct, acceptable use policies, and non-disclosure agreements. Controls can be further categorized as preventative or detective. A preventative control attempts to minimize the likelihood of an action, such as the lock on a door. A detective control attempts to identify if there is an unauthorized action or activity, such as an alarm or siren. Employees play a key role in information security. Knowing the importance of information security and the reason for controls can strengthen the company's overall information security. In today's environment, important as an unauthorized disclosure or disruption can be financially devastating and negatively affect the company's reputation. In many cases, there are regulatory requirements as well. Do understand the importance of information security and your role in security. The actions of employees can improve or weaken security. Do not attempt to bypass or circumvent your company's security systems, including policies, procedures, software, etc. If there is an issue with a process, bring it up to your supervisor. There may be a major reason for the control. If you see an area where security could be improved, let your supervisor know. The following items are key controls or actions that employees should follow. Physical security is important. From an employee standpoint, you should not attempt to bypass physical controls. Do not prop open doors that are supposed to be locked. Do not allow others to access facilities with you. They should enter with their own codes. This may include access via doorways or vehicle gates. Items that contain non-public data should be locked when not in use. When the information is no longer needed, the information should be properly destroyed, such as by shredding. Items pending destruction should be appropriately secured as well. Users should also lock or shut down computers or devices when they are not actively being used. The system should require a password or code to obtain access. As a lot of information is maintained on computers, a key control is authentication. Authentication may be provided by a username and password, but may include additional layers of secure authentication. Oftentimes, user activity is tied to an account. You should not share your account with others. If you do, any activity that occurs with that account may be attributed to you. You don't want unauthorized activity leading back to your account. Do not disclose your passwords or store them in unencrypted files. For example, if your computer was compromised, the attacker may find this file and then be able to access other possibly more important systems. Or what if the computer was lost or stolen? This is a bigger risk with portable systems. You should change your password periodically. Changing a password periodically minimizes the risk of a compromised password file from being unencrypted. You should use strong or complex passwords. Passwords should not be easily guessed by others. Whenever using an account or establishing an account for others, use a least privilege principle. Use only the minimum level of access needed for the job duties. That way, if an account is compromised, it may have minimal access. When given the option for multi-factor, such as one-time codes via text, these options should be strongly considered. These options minimize any potential damage should an account be compromised. It is highly unlikely that the attacker is able to receive the code as well. Some additional options for authentication include single sign-on. If such options are available, these should be used rather than direct logins. One benefit is that an end user is not likely to log into the wrong system, such as a mistyped website. When traveling or out of the office, avoid connecting to unknown Wi-Fi or other internet connections. Connecting to an unknown internet connection can be risky. An attacker could provide the internet connection to perform man-in-the-middle attacks. In simple terms, your traffic would be routed through their connection and forwarded on to the real destination. The risk is that the traffic, including authentication credentials, could be compromised. Although man-in-the-middle attacks could be conducted in other ways, getting users to connect to a Wi-Fi network is one of the easier methods. Other methods require a system to be compromised first. When connecting to a website over the internet, you cannot control the path that traffic takes to its destination. As a result, you don't know who may be reviewing or monitoring the traffic. Internet traffic is much like a postcard in the mail. If you can access the postcard, you can see what is written on the card. To provide a secure connection between the user and the destination website, many sites provide an SSL TLS, Secure Sockets Layer, Transports Layer Security, connection. This type of connection can usually be identified by a padlock in the Internet browser bar, although some browsers show this differently. Although the connection is encrypted, it does not necessarily mean that you are connecting to a legitimate site. An attacker may have set up a site that is using SSL to try and trick you. As such, you need to be cautious if the site is unknown. If the site is malicious, it will often be reported to the SSL provider and the SSL certificate revoked. If you get a warning or error indication from the browser, do not use the site. The site may have been compromised or was created with malicious intent. Keystroke logging is the process of using software or hardware to capture all of the user's input. If a user's keystrokes were captured, authentication credentials are likely compromised. Without multi-factor authentication, this damage can be significant, as an attacker could perform actions as the user. Keystroke logging can be installed via software, such as by a virus, or via hardware, such as a device physically connected to a system. The risk of keystroke logging, along with other risks, is the reason the unknown systems, such as a hotel, library, etc., should not be used for accessing any non-public systems. If you access systems remotely, you should only use approved methods or devices. Although you don't need to understand the technical aspects, the remote access should use an encrypted tunnel with appropriate authentication. The primary reason to use only your equipment is that you can minimize the likelihood of keystroke logging or other systems that can monitor traffic. Also, do not allow others to use your systems when connected remotely. Social engineering is the process of getting an individual to perform an action. This process is sometimes called attacking the human. The human is often the weakest link in the security chain. Why try to guess or crack a password when you can just trick someone into disclosing a password? This threat vector is very common and difficult to defend. There are three major categories of social engineering. There are electronic, telephonic, and in-person. Electronic social engineering tactics include phishing and smishing. These attacks may use email, or other electronic communication to trick a user into disclosing information or performing an action such as clicking a link, installing software, conducting a wire transfer, etc. Telephonic or pretext calling is the process of using the telephone to get the user to disclose information or perform an action. The method is often referred to as vishing. In-person social engineering requires an attacker to be physically present. In such cases, someone could pose as an official, technician, supplier, new employee, etc. Although possible, this type of attack is less common as there is a high risk of being caught. Social engineering is a common threat vector today. With any type of social engineering methods, there are some common items that should draw suspicion: urgency, severe ramifications, name dropping. As an employee, validate any suspicious request or action. If the request is questionable, verify the request via other means, such as a phone call to the appropriate party using a known good number. Do not trust anything provided by the requester. If the request is via email, do not click links, download files, or open attachments unless the email is verified. If directed to a link, go directly to the known good site, not via the link in the email. Administrative controls usually augment or correspond to technical and physical controls. Administrative controls will oftentimes spell out the requirements or actions of an employee. Some of the common administrative controls include the following. Non-disclosure agreements are used to limit discussions or disclosure of non-public information to authorized parties. Before you disclose information to someone, ensure they are authorized and have a need to know. Acceptable use policies will outline what actions an employee may take with information systems. These may include email, internet use, telephone, etc. Policies and procedures may be formal or informal. Ideally, these policies will be written. Ensure that you understand your company's formal policies and procedures with regards to information security and your actions. If things go wrong, you will likely be held accountable to these policies. A security incident is an event that threatens the security of information systems. This includes the transmission, storage, and retrieval of information. Incidents include, but are not limited to, the following: attempts to gain unauthorized access to computer systems, software applications, or data. This may be by someone from outside the organization, such as a hacker or an internal employee trying to steal another user's ID and password. Any event that results in damage, corruption, misuse, or unauthorized exposure of confidential data, whether the event was deliberate or not. Attempts to interfere with the normal functioning of information systems. This interference may include malicious software, denial of service attacks, or unauthorized computer applications. Theft or destruction of information systems to include equipment and printouts of data. Other violations of information security-related policies. Your company likely has a formal incident response policy that guides the actions of the company employees in the event of an incident. Although you don't need to know all the requirements of responding to an incident, you should understand key steps that can assist the incident response team in handling an incident. If you suspect an incident with your computer or device, attempt to isolate that system. Remove it from the network, such as disconnecting the network cable. If connected wirelessly, turn off the Wi-Fi or wireless connectivity. Report this issue to the appropriate channel. If you are not sure where to report to your immediate supervisor. When reporting an incident, include the basic information of who, what, when. Additional information may be beneficial as well. With regards to social engineering, the context of the request can be key. Information security can be complex, but employees maintaining a few key principles can greatly improve overall security. As an employee, do not try to bypass or circumvent security controls. Physically secure confidential material. Practice safe internet and email use. Be aware of social engineering, such as phishing, and report suspicious activity.